I'd like to do today is to just continue with that some of the stuff on the Sotah. Um, the Sotah is so fascinating. So after yesterday, I went back to look at some other things, and the Sotah seems to um, I don't know, straddle so many different ideas within the Torah. So let's try and look at a couple of them and see where we if we get if we can actually just as we each step is going to explore something different. Okay, so we said yesterday that very simply, a woman is accused of an inappropriate relationship by her husband because he has a certain level of jealousy with her. And we went through all the different types of jealousies and where it's attached to and why she has to bring a korban in the way that she has to bring the korban. Now we're looking now where the Kohen now takes this water in this earthenware pot, and he takes and he puts some of the dust from the floor of the Beis Hamikdash into the water, and now he mixes the water. Now he's going to do something with this water, and the Torah says, "Ve'emida kohen et ha'isha lifnei Adonai." So firstly, he takes the Kohen takes this woman and he brings her before. That's the way the Torah describes it. Lifnei Hashem. Um, the Rashi explains that it's already said Ve'emida lifnei Hashem. In the earlier psukim, it spoke about the fact that he brought her before Hashem because she brought her korban. So what does it mean? Ela masin hayu otam mimakom lemakom kedei leyaga uletaref da'ata v'todeh. Because so the Gemara in Sota says the reason why he takes her from one place to another is to get her a little bit confused, is to kind of rattle her, and if he rattles her, then she will be less composed, and once she's less composed, she may actually confess to the fact that she did have this inappropriate relationship with this man that she's accused of having that. Remember, we're trying to avoid her having to go through the process of sotah. We don't want her to have to do it. It's just it's a process that has to happen. So we try and avoiding it, and in avoiding it, we go to all these strange measures. So he moves her from one place to another, trying to get her to do anything. And then what happens? Eventually, he gets her to the place where she needs to be. Ufara et rosh ha'isha. And what he does is he farat rosh ha'isha means like he bares her head. He takes off whatever she was wearing on top of her head. V'natan al kapeh et minchat hazikaron. And in her hands, he takes the korban that she brought, the meal offering. Minchat Kanaot, it's this. Remember, we spoke about the meal offering of jealousy, the two jealousies, the jealousy of Hashem and the jealousy of the husband. And in the hands of the Kohen are the Mei Hamarim Hama'ararim, are the waters Hamarim, which are bitter, Hama'ararim. The word Ma'ararim is a very difficult word to translate because it could be from the word Arur, which means curse, or it could be from the word Or, which means light, which we'll have a look at now. So Rashi says, let's look at Rashi first. Rashi says, Ufara, what does it mean that he takes off her head covering? Soter kliat sara, he takes off her head covering. Why? Kedei livzota, in order to disgrace her. And here is this is the source of the concept of a woman's head covering. As Rashi says, Mikan livnot Yisrael shegilu yarosh ganai lahen. From here we learn that and I'm just saying Rashi, I'm not like saying anything, I'm just saying what I said. Mikan livnot Yisrael shegilu yarosh ganai lahen. That having a bare head is a ganai, is a disgrace for the Jewish woman. So what does this mean? What is Rashi telling us? So we understand that we have a concept that a woman, from our side, we have this idea that a woman has to cover her head once she's married, etc. But remember, at least in that, so that's a halacha of a certain sort. But if we come in a society where people are always covering themselves, to uncover their head and to embarrass her in that way is also a big thing. And the Bartanura says that again, one of these things that you're doing is because kedei letaref data, for the same reason that Rashi said earlier, that the minute she's thrown from her composure and she feels no longer so confident in what she's purported, so it may be that that she'll once again, she'll admit we don't want her to drink these waters. We don't want specifically to have to go through a process of scraping, which you'll see what it means, of scraping the name of Hashem out. We don't want to do that. We wanted to actually admit. And therefore, the Bartanur explains that it was done b'shar Nikanor, derech kol hanichnasin. It was done at the gate of Nikanor. The gate of Nikanor is where everybody would come in, would come into the Beit HaMikdash. Sheyiru ota kol hanichnasin benivula. Everyone would see her in her in the state of her embarrassment, and because of that, we're hoping that she will admit to what it is that she did with this man that she's accused of doing. Okay, the excuse me. The Torah continues that it gives her that the Kohen again gives her this the korban in her hands, and then again Rashi says, maybe again, just because the fact that she's now holding this korban and the wheat in her hands, it's no longer in a vessel. It's kind of shmutzi, whatever the case is. Maybe again she'll admit it. And why is it called the Mayim Hamarim? Rashi says al shem sofan shahem marim la, because of ultimately they become they're not bitter as such, Rashi says, but rather they are waters that will become bitter to her because of the impact of the water will have. Because as we know that what will happen is that she'll just carry on the Torah, and then I'll come back. That the Kohen makes her to take a vow. ואמר אל האישה, אם שכב איש אותך, ואם לא שתית טומאת תחת אישך, חנקי מהמרים האלה. And the Kohen says to her, right, you need to take a vow. If you've not gone astray, if you haven't had a relationship with somebody else, then you're immune to the impact of these waters, which we're trying to understand the waters now. But if you have gone astray, if you have gone astray, and you become tamei, and another man has been with you, then other than your husband, then he makes a swear in this it's a very difficult curse. It says, may Hashem make you a curse and some type of vow amongst your people. Because why? That what will happen is Hashem will cause your thighs to fall. We'll try and understand that. And your belly to distend. And the water will come into your body in order to cause this terrible physical affliction that will happen to her. And then she'll say amen v'amen, and amen v'amen is her acceptance of that oath. And then it goes through a process of what the Kohen does, where he writes this all on a piece of paper, and then he rubs it off into the waters, and he makes like this potion in a way. And he takes this potion and he gives it to the woman. And if the way the Torah says, if she actually did act inappropriately, and then the waters they become bitter for her, and it will have this terrible physical impact on her. But if she didn't, then it seems to be there'll be a reward of some sort that she had to go through this terrible process, and she'll have a child. That's the way the Torah describes it. But what I want to look at is this of these waters. It seems to be a bit strange. They're called the Mei Hamarim Hama'ararim, the waters that are the bitter waters that are Ma'ararim, that somehow do something. So the first thing that we have to look at is, if you remember, the concept of Mayim Marim, of bitter waters. This is not the first time we experience it. The Kli Yakar and the Rabbeinu Bachaya and others say it reminds us of other bitter waters that we have. The other bitter waters were those waters that that Bnei Yisrael had when they came out of Mitzrayim. They come out of the sea. They take all this stuff. They walk for 3 days and there's no water. And eventually these waters they find this water, but the waters are bitter. So explain both the Kli Yakar and the Rabbeinu Bechaya, that what is different with those waters and these waters are, as Rashi explained, that the waters that were at the time of Mara seemed to be that they themselves were inherently bitter. And therefore you had to throw the tree inside them in order to make them sweet. Whereas this water is a different type of water. It's not bitter. We know that the water comes from the kior. It comes from the place where the Bukwanim are going to wash. Why should it be bitter? It's not bitter. What is Rashi says, Al Shem Sofan. They become bitter. They become bitter because of the end. Their end is that they make her into, if she's done an inappropriate thing, so then they've made her that they become bitter for her, but they're not not of themselves bitter. And they explain that we learn from here something very important, that sometimes like the way they present it is, we drink water that is clean, but sometimes it becomes bitter for us. And it's in everything in our lives that we may engage in certain things that are completely neutral, but it depends what we've done and what we do with those things in our lives that will determine whether that neutral thing, water is the ultimate neutral, whether that neutral thing will become bitter or whether it will become sweet. And that's a very important thing. And that's why it's called the Mayim Hamarim Hama'ararim, the waters that are bitter, that are Ma'ararim. And explains the Kli Yakar that there are two aspects of it. The one is Ma'or. It will enlighten. It will bring light onto the situation, where it will show that the husband unfairly was jealous about her. It's ma'arer. It's ma'arer to bring light on something. But at the same time, it could be ma'urer. It could also be something that brings a curse onto something. And that is the nature of this thing. It all depends. And the same as the Ma'im Hamarim. It all depends on her. Is it going to bring light, or is it going to bring a curse? And it's totally dependent on her. And therefore that's why it's called the Ma'im Hamarim Hamarim, which is really an important concept. I just want to go back here quickly. Okay, let's carry on. So what the Kohen is mashpia ota, makes her take a vow. And Rashi says, what is the shvur that she takes? So it's not exactly clear from the psukim. Rashi says, "Umahi ashvur." What's the shvur? Im lo shachav hinaki, ha'im shachav chinaki. Says, what does it mean? If she didn't sleep with another man, so she's clean. But if she did chinaki, then she'll get chinek. Shemichlal lav atashmehem. From the fact that there is a love, you learn a positive. Ela shemitzvah liftoach bedin nefashot tchila l'zchut. He says, what's the thing? You always, when it comes to din and nefashot, when it comes to judging a person, you always got to judge l'zchut. And I thought this Rashi was an amazing thing. Here we are with this woman who's accused of doing all these terrible things, and the first thing we do is we look at her merit. And perhaps that's the thing that we have to always try and focus on in our lives, is that we know this thing. And I think the penchant of people is to really, especially in this situation where this woman is accused of such a terrible, dastardly deed of having slept with another man other than her husband, that we very often quickly jump to our own conclusions, which are negative, and try and find the we speak about how the negative is, but comes along Rashi and says, no, when it comes to situations of din and nefashot, we're trying to understand this, then you got to tchila l'zchut, you got to first judge l'zchut. Everything in our world today is din and nefashot. Everything today, I think, when it comes to human beings, is about a person's life. We know that if you embarrass a person, it's like you've killed them. When you speak Lashon Hara about a person, it's like killing. There's so many things that when it comes to human being, if we're not careful in judging things l'zchut, in their merit, so then we can actually be really responsible for their downfall, be it their emotional downfall, chas v'sholom, their physical downfall, anything like that. And so therefore, even when it comes to this difficult situation of the sotah, the first thing we have to look at is l'zchut, to see whether in fact she is naki, she is clean. And if she isn't, so then we allow the Ma'im Hama'ararim, we allow the natural effect of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's supernatural world to work its work, rather than us being the ones that cause her to be guilty. Have a beautiful day, everybody. Please God, we should